Hi everybody, it's Simone from Our Year in Bali. Thank you so much for joining us on this IG Live. I'm so excited to get these client stories alive for you. Really excited to share this one tonight. We're going to talk to a gorgeous family from Sydney. They're talking to us live from their home in Canggu after nearly finishing 16 months of Bali life with two kids going to school, 12 and 15, and they're going to share all their exciting moments that they've had in the last 16 months. There's going to be some challenges, there's going to be some new exciting things to do, just talking to us all about Bali life and why they chose Bali. They are from Sydney, and that's where I'm originally from, so I really appreciate it because I love helping people from all around Australia move to Bali, however long that may be. And this lovely family chose to do it for just over a year. So I am going to ask Kate and Leigh from Canggu Live to join us to share this really successful client story for you. And so just bear with me for one moment. I'm just going to ask Leigh to join us. Won't be a moment. And they're going to share their story. I'm excited because it's all going to be part of your story one day. I hope to help bring your Bali life together, and we're relocation experts, so we really love to help you choose the right area, the school, whether it be all sorts of different things, just Bali life, work, for example, understanding. Going to share this. Oh, here we are. So okay. It's all going to be part of your story one day. Hi, Leigh. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Sorry, it's not working on our laptop, so we're just going to have to use my phone here.
Well, it's working perfectly. Hi, Kate. How are you?
Hi, good, Simone. How are you?
Well, it looks, really good. It looks lovely where you guys are. So you're live from Canggu at the moment, is that right?
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, just
Excellent.
sitting out in the backyard, so looking over the rice fields behind us.
Beautiful. Well, I actually realized that we spoke back in August 2023, believe it or not. That was when we first met each other. It was on Zoom, and you were just starting to share your ideas of having a sabbatical and what life might look like for the kids and going to school and what you guys might be doing, because you wouldn't need to work perhaps in the time that you decided to choose Bali as your fun family destination. So now we're nearing end of that amazing time that you gifted yourselves. So what better than to have this lovely conversation with you, unpack it all, talk about the great times, talk about some challenges, talk about what Bali has done for the family, how the kids settled in, what school life been like, and just why you chose Bali and what it might have done for the family in the last 16 months, because I believe you guys are heading home soon. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So we were originally, Simone, coming up we were only going to spend, actually in Bali, we were only going to be away about 11 months, and in Bali we were only actually going to be here about 9 months.
Wow.
Because we were going to go travelling for a month after we left and some travel through the year.
Yeah.
And we extended that almost by 6 months because we've really enjoyed ourselves here, and it's gone super well for the kids, and we wanted them to finish a full school year here, and lots of other reasons. And so we went a whole lot longer than we expected. So it's coming. It'll be almost a year and a half, not quite, but almost.
Yeah, which is absolutely fabulous. So how about we start from the beginning? And
Sure.
I would love you guys to briefly introduce yourself, where you're from and sort of where you are in your life at the moment, and how you've been able to get to this point of a sabbatical, and a time in your life where you thought, you know what, we're going to stop and not do the Sydney life for a little bit. We're going to do something a bit different. So please share your background, and I'd love to hear more about, share a little bit more about yourself. Yeah.
Okay, so Kate and Leigh from Sydney, and we're the parents of Annie and Flynn. So Annie's now 12, and Flynn will be 16 soon. So we came to Bali. So Leigh, I remember the day vividly. We were in a cafe in Erskineville, inner city Sydney, where we live. And Leigh said that he was keen and thinking about taking his long service leave. And I was on a career break at the time. So I went into panic mode of thinking just us both in some sort of early retirement type situation, bumping around inner city Sydney together, sipping coffee and not doing much more. So I thought, if we are going to use the long service, we needed to put it to good use and make something of it. So it all just pretty much unfolded pretty quickly from there. But I can sort of Bali came to mind. I had heard of the Green School, so our thinking and our journey started with the knowledge of the Green School, which is not where we landed, but that's sort of the path that started us to where we are now.
That makes sense. Yeah, Bali does get on people's radar simply because of the green school. It's so famous, it's so interesting and so different. It's definitely an attraction to Bali, but it's so nice to know that it didn't stop you from choosing somewhere different and giving Bali go in a different way. And I know, Leigh, so you're on a sabbatical. Where are you coming from? What sort of work background are you coming from when you've got a break? So where is that from?
Well, we're both from the tourism industries, where we met. So I work for the federal government's tourism body, actually, Tourism Australia, and been there a long time. And of course, that is one of the great things about Australia. If you do stay with employers a long time, you have long service leave, and lots of other parts of the world. Most of the rest of the world don't get it, of course. And you talk to people here, whether they're expats or whether they're local Indonesians, about long service leave, and they sort of look at you strangely about like, what's that? But we're very fortunate in Australia to have it. So I'd been there a long time. I had sort of 6 months of long service leave owing to me almost. And, I said to my guys, well, how about I take, double the time, at half the pay sort of thing and take a year off. So that's how it came about from my side. And, when I sat down and worked it out, I'd backpacked in my 20s around the world and spent some time away, but it had been over 30 years since I'd really had anything more than my annual leave, my 4 weeks leave a year. And some years maybe I took 5 weeks, but it had been a very long time since I'd ever had more than a month off work, and decades since I'd really used more than my 4 weeks annual leave. So I was like, you know what, you know, we need some time out. And so for us, it was a bit of a career break. We had some health issues going on as well. And so we just thought, let's just take time away and go and do something different with the kids and put them in another environment. Because we're friends of, I think Kate's sister said to us, oh, why don't you just go to Queensland for a year? And so, well, sort of not quite the same if you want to do something different for your kids. And we didn't really want to be too far away from Australia. We wanted to have access to Australia as well, but something that was culturally different, somewhere that had good schools as well, and somewhere that was affordable, clearly. So we did have other places in mind, but really Bali ticks so many great boxes that it sort of was the obvious place. Yeah.
And so with the journey, so you were saying, Kate, that you were sort of thinking, okay, we need to make some decisions here. And I know you went to Bali by yourself and did sort of a tour and a bit of a scout. So tell us, from the moment when I spoke to you, August 23, and then you did some scouting with the schools and the areas, how long did that process take? Like, how long do you think it really takes to plan a year away?
Well, we probably could have done with a bit more time. And you'd said all along it's going to be more overwhelming and bigger than you expect. It was interesting for us, though. In fact, it was fascinating for us the way the path just paved its own way very quickly for us. It really felt like destiny was saying, "This, you're on the right path. This is where you're meant to be going." So we got introduced to you very quickly. So August, we had that conversation. I left for Bali in September, and I went and toured about 5 of the schools that you had recommended, and I moved around a little bit. So I did about a week in Bali, and I started in Sanua. I went up to Ubud, and then I came down to Perennian, which even after 18 months, I still can't pronounce Perennian. But I did the full circuit, and I visited the 5 schools over the course of a week. And then I came back in September, and after doing that, I was lucky to be able to do that because it was very clear to me where I thought the kids would fit. So choosing Canggu Community School, and then going from there. So it was visas, it was flights, it was school enrollments, and then it was obviously getting our house
Sure.
ready to Airbnb, and that was really the heavy lifting, was just getting out of
Yes.
getting out of our house and doing all that simultaneously with it, trying to establish another life in Bali. So yeah, it was big, but we had our guide from Simone, and that really gave us a lot of shortcuts, because to do it
Mm.
without that, it was stressful enough with
Mm.
the guidebook.
Yes. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I do. I always explain that to two people. They're like, "How long does it really take?" And I'm like, "It depends on what you have to finish off in your home. You know, is it finishing a business or saying goodbye to a job, or as you said, renting out your house and maybe selling a car, or who knows what might have to happen. Put things in storage. It's a lot of stuff
It
to
was
unravel.
probably,
Yeah,
yeah, I reckon it was probably like, it was probably 3 to 4 months,
yeah,
really, by the
yeah.
time when we first had the conversation to when
Mm,
I went into the office and said, "Oh, look, I'd like to take some long service leave," and meanwhile behind the scenes planning all that. Yeah, it was a good three heading towards 4 months to sort of
mm.
work our way through it, with still some follow up after that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you landed, I remember, I think we actually caught up for a quick bite or something in the Umalas, and you were just starting to settle in. I think the kids just started school. So how long do you think it takes to settle in? Is it a couple of months to get the routines, to find your favorite gym and feel really good about certain things? How long do you think it really took you guys to feel a little bit more comfortable?
Yeah, it was probably a couple of months. So we were honestly pretty wrecked when we landed, just from that move and doing everything back in Sydney. We just us, Leigh and I, not the kids. We did land pretty wrecked and discombobulated, and we just had to sort of ground ourselves again and just let go of relocating another country is it's not easy.
Mm,
But protecting the kids from that a little bit. But look, that was part was easy, as everyone says. Children are resilient,
yes.
and we set them up for success in the school that we chose,
Mm.
and that part of it was super easy. And then yeah, I'd say probably a couple of months just to find our gyms, and then the routine just keeps improving, and then it feels a bit like life.
Yeah.
um, but I mean, it's not quick, is it? It does take a
Mm,
bit of time, and you find a different stride at every point in the journey. So after a year, and now after 18 months, it's
Yeah,
yeah.
I do think it did make a difference for us. I think that our kids settled in really quickly. They really
Mm,
loved the school, and our daughter had an instant group of friends. I think her birthday was a month after we got here, and she had like a bunch of 8 or 10 girls at a birthday party. And our son settled in and found a gym he liked, and then got into some surf lessons, and then he eventually found his own people. So um, that made it a whole lot easier,
mm.
and for the two of us having the kids so easily settle in, and then the rest of it sort of was a bit more smooth sailing after that.
Mm. And I mean, and it's a life change whether you're going, as you said, Kat, to another country. But for you, you've been working so hard as well, so you had to stop. It didn't matter where you were. It was just going to be a different routine anyway. So
Yeah,
there was a lot to
correct.
achieve and do something completely different.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I know, Kate, you're a little bit nervous about scooter riding, and I know you shared a little bit more about that. So tell us, like, some of those settling in challenges, I suppose, commuting, getting around. How did you decide to get around? And yeah, being on a scooter and giving yourself a bit of, just having a bit of courage to give it a go. Tell us a little bit about that.
yeah. So we chose where we were going to live from Sydney.
Mm,
So with one of your contacts, we did our villa hunting from afar, and we made a decision from afar. So we didn't really know where we were coming into. All we knew that our proximity to the school was going to be good, and that was the only priority that we had.
yes.
But once we found where we were in the Umalas, it was pretty much bike shortcuts in and bike shortcuts out, and that was it. So the backer bikes was really our only option, which we were fine. We were really comfortable with the Gojeks and the Grabs. They're really intuitive drivers. We felt very safe with them. We felt safe putting the children on the back of them,
Mm,
and that was all fine. And that's how I got around. Leigh eventually was riding a bike pretty soon after we landed. And then a few months later, I was pretty desperate for a bit more freedom. So I was either on the back of Leigh's or on the back of the Gojeks. And so I went off to scooter school and gave it a go, and failed pretty fast uh, the first day after my 2-hour lesson. And then I got back on it and had another lesson and gave it another go. And yeah, a lot of putting my big girl pants on and getting out amongst the traffic. I'd never ridden one before. Driving wasn't really my thing, but I did just love the idea of having that freedom. And I do feel really safe out on the roads. People talk about it a lot. We've never witnessed an accident. We feel safe. It's very, when nobody's going very fast, unfortunately, because of the traffic. So it's, it's up, everyone's different. Not all my friends drive, and some people look at me quite envious that I did it. And then some people are weaving in and out the traffic since they landed. So everyone's very different on that. But for us, it's worked out. We did think we'd go down the path of a driver and so on, but bikes have been our chosen form of transport because of just the efficiency of ducking in and out of those shortcuts.
Yeah, especially where you're based. So I completely appreciate that. And then you would probably take a car for the lovely trips that you make to like Chandidasa or Ahmed or other places. You're just happy to jump in a car.
Yeah, we've done the long distance bike rides a couple of times, but it is sitting on the back of a bike for a few hours is it's a lot different than 10 minutes around Canggu or something. So yeah, we generally will get a driver for those sort of longer trips.
Yeah, beautiful. And so can you describe a little bit more about the neighborhood? So you talk about the Umlas. I know you're in 2 different homes. So perhaps if you could share a little bit more about the neighborhood itself. What's it like? Not many people know the Umlas, I suppose, because it's not a very holiday-focused destination as opposed to Seminyak or Canggu. So perhaps tell us a little bit more about the Umlas and Canggu, where you ended up living, both different places. Love to hear more about the community and the neighborhood and what's around you and things like that.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, we had two because we were going to leave at the end of the year originally. We'd only rented that villa for a certain amount of time, and then obviously, had to leave. They had other people coming, and then we are where we are now. So the Umalas, that originally, as Kate said, was for us. It was about being close to the school. It's like a little pocket that's in between, really. If people watching know Bali at all, it's in between Seminyak and Canggu, or Seminyak and Barawa. There's a little pocket there. Malas, it tends to be, it's quite developed, more residential. Yes, there's local people there, but a lot more expat villas, and it's 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 just very well developed, is how I would say it. Whereas where we are now, which is Tibu Bening, I think it's the pronunciation. It's out the back of Canggu on Raya Padanan, if anyone watching knows that. This has got, I'd say it's probably about 60-70% more locals, 30% expats. Seems to have a lot more long-term expats here who've been here a long time. As I'm just observing, wandering around, it's still got the rice fields here as well, one right behind us here. So that's a nice vibe. The Amalas, that's pretty well all gone from over there now. A few patches there are, but not that many. Whereas here it's still there, but they are being rapidly developed. I suspect if you come back here in 5 years' time, there won't be many rice fields left. But here just has a lot more, for us, a lot more of a community feel than it did in the Umalas. But the Umalas was lovely location, close to the beach. You could get access to a lot of things easy. Here is good, but it is on the other side of Raya Canggu, which, if anyone knows Bali, that's like a horrendously busy road. And you've got to get across that to get to the school, and across that to get back up here. It's not too bad once you get used to it, to Kate's point about riding bikes and things, but it can be a bit of a barrier. But it's still, from the beach, it's probably, as opposed to the Malas was 5 minutes, here it's 10 to 15 minutes. So it's just that little bit further away. So we've really enjoyed it here, probably a lot more ourselves, in terms of the community feel here. But there's a lot to be said about the Umalas as well.
And so I can see it's where you are. It's obviously, as you said, rice fields and beautiful sunny days. How have you felt with the adjustment, just out of interest, with the climate and the climate change? And I mean, I sort of say it's a bit like Groundhog Day every day. It's just going to be warm. We know it's going to be some sort of warm. How have you felt? How have you felt coming from Sydney when, you've got some really stark contrasts and things like that? How have you felt your whole time with the heat?
I was thinking about this today, actually. I was remembering the beginning where our daughter was just a hot
Yes.
mess from when we landed. She really struggled to adjust. Lee grew up in Papua New Guinea and then had lived a long time in Cairns, so he'd had a long time in humid climates, and I'm from Melbourne, so I hadn't had any. Um, and yeah, it took a lot to adjust. You know, we landed in February. It was steaming, um, and I would say it took a good month or so, but yeah, and it doesn't bother us at all anymore. I've actually just since moving up here, I've started running again in the mornings, which I would never have thought to do in the
Wow.
beginning because of the heat. But you know, to go for a 30-minute run at 6:37 in the morning now is achievable for me because I have acclimatized. But I couldn't have done that at the beginning. So it's interesting. You can acclimatize,
Definitely.
but I do look forward to going back to Four Seasons and more outfits than just my gym gear and shorts and shorts and skirts.
But
And
it's very, to me, it's not dissimilar to North Queensland. I
mm,
found it very, very close.
mm,
The climate here, hot and humid in the, uh, at certain times of the year, and then, dry and, quite beautiful like this time of the year, which is,
mm.
of course, why so many Australians are coming this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Kate, you mentioned like gym gear and things like that. So I would love to know how you guys have got into the healthy lifestyle and made the most of it, like breath work and meditation, yoga, gym, running. There are so many fun things to do. And I think this year you've really, or it last, however long, the 16 months, you've really gifted yourself some time to learn some new skills and just adopt a healthy lifestyle. So what has Bali given you? What fun have you done? What sort of things have you got up to?
Yeah, well, it's definitely been our priority. So it's been sort of the anchor of each day and how we built our routine around our exercise and where we started. So we met someone right at the beginning, and she reminisced about when she first arrived to Bali 20 years ago, and there was a group of them that go to the gym and then they have a coffee, and a man in that group was talking about a book that he wanted to write, which was about life in Bali. Was each day was just to go to the gym and do just one other thing. And that
Yes.
was how they all planned their lives. Was like, I'm going to go to the gym and then I'm going to go pick up some chicken for dinner, or I'm going to go to the gym and then I'm going to go get my hair done. Or so yeah, it's been a big part of our life, and that's sort of where our community came from. So more
Mm,
than the school, interestingly,
mm,
our friends have come out of our gym that we found in the Umalas.
mm.
So we've enjoyed, yeah, gym classes, yoga, saunas and cold plunges. Lee got into breath work,
Yeah, meditation.
Pilates, meditation.
Great.
Yeah, surfing. Sort of learnt to surf. I always had a dream of riding a longboard. I haven't quite got to. I have fulfilled my dream of riding a longboard, but I probably thought I'd be a lot better after a year or so at it. So I haven't been as consistent as I should have been, and but nonetheless, it's been great to do that. We've sort of picked up a little bit of Bahasa. We tried lessons early on, went off them, came back on. So yeah, but to Kate's point, I think it has been a bit of a priority for us to do a lot of that stuff. And while it's available in Sydney, one of the great things I find about Bali, particularly the southern end of Bali, where all the tourism really happens, is everything's so close. Like yes, you can find all these things in Sydney, but they're often quite spread out.
Mm,
Or in a capital city in Australia, but
mm.
here everything's 15, 10 to 20 minutes away,
True.
and it's all achievable, and it really is a wellness center here. There's just so many yoga centers, so many gyms, so many places where you can go and learn meditation or whatever. It's quite incredible. It's a real unique benefit of being here.
And do you think yeah, as you said, you'll adopt some of that back in Sydney?
Oh,
You're going to take any of that with you? Some good stuff?
Yeah, yeah,
totally,
yeah,
totally.
definitely. Yeah, no, we found some real new health and wellness passions that will
Continue.
hopefully keep part of our routine in Sydney.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. And just quickly, you talked about friends, maybe not so much through the school community, but through the gym community. Did you find it? Some people ask me, is it hard to make friends? And they get a little bit up, a bit concerned about that. So, how have you felt making a couple of friends while you've been, in Bali? How's it been?
Look, I think we came for a break from all that a little bit, so I
Yeah.
don't think we tried. Yeah, so you do need to put a bit of effort in.
Yes.
And so we come from our background in what we do in tourism is just network, network, network. So we're pretty good at it. But I think we wanted a break from it, so we weren't super active. And we have no regrets about that. You know, we had a really nice core group of people. We had to recently go back to Australia for a wedding, and you know, we had a trusted another mum, a friend of Annie's, where she could go and stay for that weekend, no problem. So we had enough of a
That's
village to do
right.
what needed to be doing, but we definitely didn't go all out
Mm.
to. But there's so many communities to make friends. You know, there's mums in Bali. There's Facebook groups. Actually, our Bali besties, we call them. We found them through Facebook. So that mum had to come at the same time as us and put a post up looking for a gym and a few things for her 14-year-old son. And I jumped on and said, oh, we've just landed and I'm looking for all the same things for our 14-year-old son. I'm going to follow along. And she said, shall we have a coffee? And we did. And we've traveled with them this year and we've become really close. So I think you've just got to find the opportunities and just act on them and never
Mm.
say no. And it's not difficult. There's some really great pockets of communities depending on your interests.
Yeah, that's really well said. I really appreciate that. As you said, just giving it a go, and it's all there. It's all accessible. Everyone's there to help each other out and make friendships and connections. And you've got the similarities there, and that's so lovely. You've had some really, strong bonds. I can. It sounds like so. That's super nice. Another unexpected thing that Bali perhaps gave you as well. So that's really, really lovely to share. So, talking about maybe I suppose the Sydney comparison to Bali, and everyone talks about the cost of living and yes, Bali's getting more expensive, and we know, accommodation is getting quite pricey, and some other things like maybe even gym membership can be pricey. So I try and lay that out a little bit with, cost of living Excel spreadsheets and just giving some reality, checks on certain things. But how have you felt the cost of living? Because everyone from Australia would love to know that question on what overall has it been an expensive exercise? Is it cheaper than Australia? Like, how have you felt the whole experience has been for you?
I think it's, I'll let Kate jump in here as well, but I think it's, how long's a piece of string a little bit?
Yes.
Like, yeah, yes, it is more expensive than it probably used to be,
Mm.
but we've got friends who, live in Seminyak, older, smaller villa with a little swimming pool, 3-bedroom villa. Yeah, they only paid $25,000 a year for
Wow.
that place, Australian
Mm.
dollars.
Okay.
Then we've seen places that are, 100 and, 4-5-bedroom villas that people are renting for 120, 130, $140,000 a year. So at the other end of the spectrum, and then there's a lot of places in the middle. The more newer villas seem to be around that 50 to 60,000 Australian dollars a year type of
Yeah.
range. But if you take them, longer than a year, if you
Mm.
come here and take them for 3 or 4 or 5 years,
Mm.
that could be half or even a third of that sort of price. So
Good point.
it is hard to say, and then of course it depends where you live. But they're the extremities that
Yeah.
certainly I'd say. And then in general, like things like eating out is definitely a lot cheaper than Australia. I mean, yes, you can definitely go to a lot of restaurants around Seminyak, Tengu, and pay Sydney prices. Absolutely pay Sydney prices. And, one thing that is definitely Sydney prices here I pay in Sydney. So, but, mostly if we go to a local restaurant, it's mostly Westerners at this restaurant here. We went there last night, in fact, or I went with the kids. Um, it's about probably 40% less than what you'd pay
Mm.
at home for the same
Yeah.
sort of meal. But then you could go down to the local warung and just get, nasi goreng for four of you for $15. You know, yeah, so
Exactly.
again, it just depends it depends what you want, but it's definitely cheaper to eat out. I think one of the big things is just the help around the house and the
Mm.
and laundry. So laundry is so cheap. You go and get your laundry done So, $5, $6, $7 for all your laundry for a family of four. It's so inexpensive. You probably don't want to put all your best clothes in there, but given that you spend half your time living in your gym gear or your active wear over here, it's sort of not really an issue. And then, every villa that if you rent a villa for a year,
Mm.
it will come with one or two people. There'll be someone who'll come with this particular one we have here. A guy comes 5 days a week and does all the cleaning and all the rest of it. There's a pool guy who comes twice a week and cleans the pool and does that. There's a gardener who comes once a fortnight, and that's just all part of it. So you don't get that sort of help at home, clearly, without significant costs. And you do see a lot of, I see a lot of expat families up here with younger kids, and one of the reasons I think that a lot of them come here is because they can get help. You basically got daycare that at home is costing you an absolute fortune, and we know we did it not that long ago in Sydney. Well, you're not paying anywhere near that here for someone who's there to look after your kids.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's definitely a lot. While the costs have gone up and the price of villas here is just climbing rapidly, and it's
Mm-hmm.
probably two, three, four times what it was pre-COVID. Um, it's definitely a lot less expensive than it certainly was in Sydney. Want to add anything on that? Transport too.
Mm.
Kate mentioned go jets and taxis. Like, they're just so cheap over here to go anywhere. It's just so cheap. The kids go to school on the back of a bike. I ride our daughter, but if they catch a go jet, it's probably about 3 or 4 kilometres to the school from here, and it's like $1.20
Wow,
on the back of the motorbike. So
that's great. That's
yeah.
amazing. Yes. Yeah, I completely appreciate it. So, Kate, is there anything that you're going to miss when you go back to Sydney? What is it that you're going to miss from Bali when you get back to Sydney?
Ah, um, that's funny. Everyone's been asking me what I miss about Sydney, not what I will miss about Bali. It'll be interesting. I think some of the freedoms, like
Mm.
there's not a lot of rules, there's not a lot of boundaries to anything. I think going back into Sydney, I'll probably find that a bit different. Um,
Trying to convince our kids that they now do have to wash up the dishes. Can't just leave
sorry,
them there for
I mean,
someone else.
yeah, I'm
that's
obviously
so
going to miss.
true.
Yeah, look, if you're watching on and you haven't been here yet, we probably all sound a bit like, we're being cared for like kings and queens, and we are. But the nice thing about it is, like, it's difficult at first, having these people walk into your beautiful villa, uh, and we've never employed our own people. We've always had them with the villa, so we don't know the payment arrangements
Sure.
and things. But in the beginning, it's quite difficult. All this help arriving, and look, that's their purpose, and so they want to um, take control of that. In that's what they've been employed to do, and that takes a little bit of adjusting. And then you go through a period of feeling, oh, like they're coming in and we're living like this, and how are they living? We don't really know. And then you sort of flip to go, I feel really good that I'm employing people in Bali. A lot of people,
Mm.
we've got, Leigh just mentioned, there's 3 people employed here between the cleaners and the gardeners and the pool people, and that's nice to be giving back and to be helping local families and so forth. But so obviously I'm going to miss that and
Yeah.
going back to cleaning my own house. We haven't made the most of it. Some people have got people come in for meal preps and
Mm.
childminding, all sorts of things. We didn't dive fully into that. We just took what came with our villas, and that has been a nice break. And there's sort of no mental load here. There's like, they tell us when the electricity needs topping up. We WhatsApp alive when we need eggs, and they come in on a bike in time for breakfast the next day. So I'm definitely going to miss just the lighter mental load.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The accessibility and how everything's so deliverable and so generated easily through WhatsApp, and anything can be done through WhatsApp. It's pretty incredible. So yeah, surprisingly, I think that the technology is quite advanced. Or there's so many great apps and so many great
Yeah,
solutions, and you have to just think outside the box sometimes. But as you said, you'll get something delivered within the hour, possibly.
yeah,
So that's pretty
absolutely.
fun. That's pretty fun. And
I,
so you. Oh, sorry,
I
Leigh.
was going to say I'm going to miss not um, being able to just live in my gym clothes all day, and which is pretty much what I do all day, pretty much every
We
day.
dressed up for you today, Simone. We put on
Yeah,
it.
I
so
noticed. Thank you
it's
for
probably
dressing
about
up
the sixth,
for the
probably
occasion.
about the sixth or seventh time I've ever worn this shirt in the year we've been here. But um, yeah, and you do realise how little you can get by with. You know, we just came up here with a few suitcases, and yes, the climate has a lot to do with that, of course. But now we will go back home, and we've got like a storage shed down the road full of junk, and we've got an attic in our house full of junk, and now just going, wow, okay, how we can live a lot simpler. And I think, you know, we've both been talking to each other about when we get home, we're throwing a lot of stuff away because you just don't need it.
So
And
true.
yeah, I'm gonna miss just that freedom of just being able to get around in your running gear and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, simplicity. And as you said, I mean, I remember you wouldn't even remember what was in the storage, after
No,
being away from you don't remember what you missed. So
uh,
you can live with a simple few things in life. That's another thing that Bali can teach you. It's a lot of simplicity. So yeah,
absolutely.
no, I appreciate that. So if I can just quickly share some other things that people are always concerned about, which is the safety factor. We talked about the scooters feeling safe, but safety in general, maybe medical and support there if you've been sick or any challenges. I know obviously we won't talk about, oh, there's traffic here and there. That's pretty straightforward. But maybe, yes, so some of the safety things, if a child was sick, could you feel comfortable going to the local doctors or, how does that look to you, the safety side and the medical side?
Yeah, no, the medical's been great. Touch wood. We haven't had any major dramas. So, um, and sometimes I go, what would I do in a drama? I don't even know what I do. I think so. There's lots of little pop-up type mini medical centres
Yeah.
everywhere, and we use the doctor that you recommended in when we got your guide, and she's been coming to the villa. I have an injection for something, so her nurse has been coming to the villa every month, every 3 weeks for
Great.
that injection, and he's been amazing, and it's really not a nice injection that he has to give me. It's quite a big needle, and he's been the best I've ever had of all the time that I've had it in Sydney. So he's been great, and she's at the end. The doctor's at the end of the text message, the WhatsApp message, night and day. Annie had suspected dengue at one point. And yeah, she was always on hand. There was a few moments. Leigh was actually back in Australia. I was getting a bit nervous at night,
Mm,
and she was giving me guidance on what I needed to do. But Annie managed to get through that, and yeah, so we've had really good experiences with them. And then when we've needed to, I actually just had a mole removed here, and then I had to go and get the stitches out. I went to one of the medical centres for
mm,
$25, and they removed the stitches.
And he went to the dentist. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
Annie had a tooth pulled out. And then it's within your network too. Once you get here, you start to ask for recommendations, and but no, we found it really positive, and I'm not nervous because they are all these little
mm.
pop-ups everywhere. Because sometimes when I first got here, I was like, gosh, if you needed an ambulance, how would it even get through the traffic to get
Yes.
you anywhere? But they're kind of every few hundred meters, so they're really accessible, and the staff are surprisingly well trained, and yeah, we've had really good experiences, and we've tried lots of different places, but haven't had any major
Yeah.
emergencies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, but that's good. Yeah, families all love to hear these types of things, and to have service to your home, quite affordable, having that at your fingertips, with the WhatsApp messages and things like that. That's really really lovely to hear. So that's great, and I know that Bali's been such a fantastic base for you guys to explore Southeast Asia or a little bit more of Indonesia or Bali for that matter. So did you want to touch on that since you guys are the tourism experts? How has Bali afforded you to be able to explore
I
other places? I love to hear.
I think it's just the its location up here in Asia where it is. You're obviously close to a lot of people, you know, which even though we're Australian Perth only, Kate was in Perth yesterday, it's just back. It's only 3.5 hours away, but Australia in one sense is close. Sydney obviously 6 hours, and Melbourne, Brisbane, but um, you know, just a couple of hours north, you've got, Singapore, or less than a couple of hours, you've got Bangkok. And so we took advantage of that being here. And also, and I guess my point about all that is there's a lot of cheap flights coming in and out, and Asia's really embraced the whole low cost carrier sort of mode of transport, so you can get really cheap deals to go places. So, we have had time in Singapore, we've had time in Thailand, we went to Vietnam for a couple of weeks last year. We got a really good deal on flights to Japan in January, and took kids skiing up in Japan, because it is just so much more affordable than trying to get access to it from Australia. You just pay that much more because there's less of us in Australia, and
Yeah.
of course, and we're that little bit further away. So we've certainly found access to the rest of Asia, and we probably haven't taken as much advantage of it as I personally would have liked, but that's been a really big benefit. And then we've also tried to take advantage a few times and go and see other parts of Indonesia. Went over and saw the Komodo dragons, and that was fantastic. Went up to Manado in northern Sulawesi, which is sort of an up and coming tourist destination up there, and still got a bit of work to do on their tourism product. But it was interesting just to get to a part of Indonesia that was still not as well, certainly not as well known, and not as many tourists. People were stopping our kids on the street and wanting to take photos of them in Manado, the capital there. Like, it's just like, really, you've never seen any tourists? I mean, they clearly have tourism there, but I don't know where these locals were from, but they were like, pulling over the kids and wanting photos standing next to them. So, and I hadn't seen that sort of thing for
Yeah.
years. So that, and I know Indonesia's prioritised that as an area they want for future development. So, then we've been to the Gili Islands, and we've been all around Bali, um, and seen lots of that. So, but yes, that proximity to Asia has been fantastic, and it's certainly one of the things I think if people are thinking of coming up here and taking this time out, make sure you take advantage of that.
No, that's a good point. Absolutely. And I love how you document that in your Instagram. You're always taking some great snaps and on all your travels, and whether it's been a beautiful sunrise or sunset or whatever it is, but and then it's, Komodo dragons or fun run or, the Japan trip.
Yeah.
It's just pretty cool that you guys are sort of documenting that through your Instagram. And I think, Kate, you do a bit of Substack articles and stuff like that. So that's gonna be something you might miss with, the documenting of your adventure.
We'll do it another way. I guess. Yes, I was telling someone yesterday, one of our trips to Japan. I half thought I should now have to change my career and become an influencer like the other 80% of people around Indonesia. I posted something, and I ended up looking at it, and it had something like 315,000 views of some sort of ski experience in Japan, but just obviously the algorithm in Instagram got a hold of it, and it went completely nuts. So that has been quite interesting. But yeah, we've wanted to keep a good record of the journey and what we've been up to, and so that's all been a lot of fun, having all those memories and images that keep popping up now. It's like, oh, a year ago you were doing this, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You got to do so much and share that with family and friends back home. Is
Yeah,
really, really,
yeah, correct. Just
yeah.
trying to keep them all up to date, and maybe make a few of them jealous as well.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Is there any parting words, any like tips or tricks or what you want to share? Well, not only from us for Australians, but any other families out there looking at giving Bali a gap year, perhaps,
Yeah,
or any other
yeah.
tips?
Sorry, I've been referring to it from an Australian point of view, and I know that you'll have lots of other people from around the world
No, that's okay.
doing it. From my point, and let Kate have hers up. From my point, I'd say just do it. Like, do it if you can do it, make it happen. Don't wait, just go and do it. It's well worth it. It's been such a wonderful experience for us personally, for Kate and I, but also particularly for our kids. I think just to have this time out, something different, different culture, mixing with a whole lot of kids from all around the world, at the schools that they're at. It's been an incredible experience. So my parting point would be, make sure you do it, and then while you're planning it, and I know your great documentation and advice goes well beyond just the planning stage, but certainly if you are planning it, get a hold of your material, because that was enormously beneficial for us at the start with all those contacts and things that you had to get it
Thank you.
set up. I think I said to you once, after we got here, we sort of got a bit lazy and just sort of headed off and doing our own thing. But then now and again, we'd reach for your book and pull it out and because Kate printed all your stuff off and got it all bound together, and we'd reach out and we'd look up something and go, oh yeah, Simone did say that. We should have worked that one out before. But anyway, so get a hold of that
Thank
material
you.
if you're thinking about it from
Yeah,
you. It's
it's a
invaluable.
time saver.
Oh, mine's probably a bit the same. It's just being such a gift for everyone, but for the children, like it's just opened their mind. And I explained it to some. I did student exchange when I was 18 to Japan for a year, and this is like giving the kids a student
Yeah.
exchange, but we got to come with them.
That's a really nice way of putting it. I like that. You get
Yeah,
to.
which is, but they're just their level of gratitude as well for what they have and what they've seen within the school, just all the different volunteering opportunities. And Flynn and I, we did a bit with an orphanage over here, and just there's just so many things that just grow them. Flynn did Duke of Edinburgh over here, so he's been camping in Jatalui 3 times. So yeah, it's been so nice just to watch them grow with the experience, and for us to have this break and this time together, and a focus on wellness. So yeah, I hope
Oh,
anyone watching gets the opportunity as well. We feel very blessed.
that's so beautiful. Well, that's perfect ending, guys. That's amazing. I'm so glad we finally got to get this conversation going. And just before you go back to Australia as well,
Yeah,
it's a beautiful summary. So you've experienced the whole time now. And as I think, yeah, Bali's a special place for both for the kids and for the parents. Everyone gets
yeah,
something out.
correct.
And it sounds like it's been an amazing experience. I'm so glad to be part of your Bali journey.
Great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well,
Part
thanks.
of it. Yeah, thank you for
All right.
joining me. And
Okay.
we'll have this recorded, and your lovely story will also be on the website forever in part of our Insta stories,
Right.
so everyone can refer to that as
Yeah.
well. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Simone.
Bye. Thank
See
you.
you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.